All right, good evening, everyone. Let's call this meeting to order. This is the City of Frankfort Board of Commissioners voting meeting of August, our regular meeting, and today is August 22nd. We'll start with an invocation before we have a roll call. We have Reverend Tom Corum from First United Methodist Church. Welcome. You want to come to the podium?
Let us pray. Blessed God, maker of all and lover of all that you have made, we are so grateful for this wonderful city in which we live, for the joy that we are experiencing by living here, and for all who call this place home, no matter who they might be or where they might live. We thank you for our leaders, and particularly those who are gathered in this place. Help us to appreciate and support them. Help them to know that they are appreciated and supported, and grant them in this time your wisdom, your good judgment, that they, along with all of us, always may work for the common good in this place. In your great name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Reverend Corum. Welcome to Frankfort. And next we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now, City Clerk, will you call for the roll?
Commissioner Rosen?
Please tell me she's moved.
I think she's probably on there.
I think she's on. Bobby, is she calling you?
Commissioner Rosen?
We have a quorum. Can we just move forward?
Raising her hand. Commissioner Unger? Present. Commissioner May?
Present.
Commissioner Waldridge?
Present.
Mayor Wilkerson?
Present.
Commissioner Rosen?
Okay. Well, we do have a quorum for now, and we'll start. We have a special ceremonial and recognition tonight. And was there anyone else that wants to recognize anyone before we start with our special guest?
I just want to share, I'm super excited for all of those graduating seniors that are moving on to all these different universities. As far as California and Florida, I'm just really proud of our residents that are moving on to bigger things, and so many people that are going off to college. So super excited and wish them the best of luck. So.
Did all that? Any other?
And excited to see Kentucky State University. They're freshmen moving in and getting ready to start another semester here in Frankfort. So super excited about that.
And speaking of Kentucky State University, we have a special proclamation tonight. We have the Kentucky State University men's baseball team here with Coach Rob Henry. And this is something that we had looked at doing last year, but with the summer, the students weren't here. So I'll ask Coach Henry to come up, and if the commissioners want to come down, and then we'll do a special presentation, and then we'll get a group picture with everyone. You'll have a pretty big team here.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Do you mind to let Coach Henry say a few words before we all get mixed?
That'd be
in
great.
together? Yeah.
Come on up, Coach Henry. Say a few words.
Yeah, say a few words with us.
You can speak into the microphone.
First off, Mayor Wilkerson, Mayor Pro Tem Waldridge, rest of the city commissioners, thank you guys for having us. It's a humbling experience from where I started 10 years ago here at Kentucky State with the state of the program that was in to be where we are here now. We talk a lot about culture in our program. We talk about being good in the community, on campus, in the classroom, and how we compete, and this is a piece of that. So we appreciate being here. We just welcome the opportunity to be good stewards of our relationship in Frankfort and continue to allow this to grow and hopefully be good representatives of the city of Frankfort and reward your generosity here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So last year, Kentucky State men's baseball team, he came in second
Yes.
in the Black College World Series. So I have a special proclamation here. This is City of Frankfort proclamation. Whereas Kentucky State University's baseball team finished with an overall record of 25-24 and won the Division II bracket of the Tyson Foods Black College World Series in Montgomery, Alabama, with an 11-7 victory over Miles College. And whereas the victory was the third time in 4 years Kentucky State has finished with over a 500 winning percentage, after not having had a winning season since 1988. And I was on that 91-92 team. So I guess we didn't have a winning season. This is the most successful run of success for our baseball program since the early 1980s. And whereas Kentucky State University's baseball team has been a bright spot for the university over the last 12 months and has elevated the brand with HBCU Classic games in North Augusta, South Carolina, Chattanooga, Cincinnati, and Montgomery, Alabama for the Black College World Series. Whereas the City of Frankfort would like to recognize and congratulate the Kentucky State University baseball team and the community looks forward to another winning season in the future. Therefore, I, Lane Wilkerson, along with the City of Frankfort Board of Commissioners, do hereby proclaim the month of August 2022 as Kentucky State University Baseball Month to honor and celebrate your season. And much success for next year. So today, this is Kentucky State University.
Yeah.
Would you like to come up and get in a group picture if we can fit everyone in?
Come on,
Sure.
boys.
Feel free like that.
Our own month. Oh, it's a month.
They're gonna be like reoccurring.
You gotta win again next year. Jalen.
No, that's Connor.
I bet you guys got layers up here. We don't bite. Get a little closer.
Are we in it?
We're in it? Yeah. You guys in return.
I'll sit on the desk.
Yo, I ain't trying to be in the center, but you got it, bro.
Sonia, I want to let you know I bought my own shirt this weekend. Yeah, I went up to the bookstore. Yeah. But thank you for the t-shirts. That's very kind of you. Can I do like a photo bomb? What if I stand on the top of here and go?
Stand on the dance floor. You have to get
Can we move in just a little bit, please? Okay. 1, 2, 3. You guys have your own side. Ready?
1, 2, 3. I think I got everybody. Yep.
Who you are? Who you are? Who you are? Too young. They don't know us. No matter how they play.
They don't know yet. They don't know.
Taste good. No bread left.
What grade you need? I don't think grade.
I almost did the photo bomb.
I said, I do it
You already had this seat.
No, I wouldn't. Seat's open. Sit right here, bro. Hey, come down here, bro.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you all.
I got excited.
I know, they sit back down like, hey, we're here for the meeting. It feels like the air's starting to come out. They sucked it out and all of a sudden it just felt air. Oh my God. That was awesome.
We'll keep rolling on. We're now going into citizens' comments. Do you have any citizens' comments?
He didn't bring it to us. Maybe try to see it. Otherwise, she's not gonna be able to participate.
Funny how we hear her.
I know, we can hear it right
Commissioner Rosen, can you hear us?
I'm like, how did it didn't hear her before? I didn't know.
She needs to log out and log back in.
I'm sending her a message in the chat.
Well, while we try to get Commissioner Rosen, we do have some citizens' comments. And if you want to come up to the podium when I call your name, and your remarks are limited to 5 minutes. And we have first Lydia Roberts.
Thank you all for your
Yeah,
time.
hold on one second. Hold on one second, Lydia.
I just wanted to let you know, I'll give you a 1 minute warning when we hit 4 minutes. Just when you hear me say that, don't be surprised.
I doubt I'll take that. I can talk, but I don't public speak, so here we go. I live in Juniper Hills, and I have a situation with my next door neighbors. I plan on sending a copy of this to all the commissioners. I should have done that in advance. I apologize. On June 18th, I contacted Planning and Zoning about a neighbor having a tarpaulin garage that was 20 feet high in the backyard. I was told that they didn't have a permit. While I was talking to the man, I shared that they've had a dog tied up in the backyard all the time since May with no shade, and I was told to contact the animal control and the police department. I did call. The dogs are still tied up as of today. On June 23rd, I contacted Michael Muller and asked him who on the city commission would best work with me on the matter with my difficult, hostile neighbors. And they have had 7 vehicles, 4 motorcycles, 2 trailers, and the whole backyard has items tarped underneath it. I was given Lisa Unger's name to contact for help. At that point, I began to send her pictures and videos, and she sent to the police department and animal control. On August 13th of this year, the neighbor came to my house, knocked on my door, and said another neighbor had told her that I would shoot her dog if her dog got in my yard, which is not true. I have a video of me helping put the dog back. The woman continued and said if anything happened to her dog, she would kill me. And at that point, I called the police. And the officer came and spoke with the woman. I don't know the officer's name, but I do have the phone number. On August 14th, I went to church, obviously still upset, and I shared with my oldest son what had transpired. He offered to let me live with him, but informed me that I would never be able to have my grandchildren at my home because of the neighbors. In doing my background work, I found out that the person who owns the property is an LLC out of Lexington, and it's FFG LLC. Frank Combs is the manager on Burt Road in Lexington, and as soon as I get the police report, I'm going to mail it to that person so they can know what's going on their property. Thank you.
Thank you, Lydia. Next, we have Aaron Ashcraft.
I got some maps here for you. Is that all right?
Sure.
Didn't know if the map would be relevant still from last month, or last work meeting there. Thank you guys for hearing me. I'm here tonight to talk about the no-mow areas, wildlife habitat, pollinator areas that have been proposed at East Frankfort Park. My opinion on this matter is that it's not a fit for East Frankfort Park. First off, the red arrow at the top doesn't really show the area that he's talking about. Sean presented here. If you look at the map that I've got the other screenshot from, you can see the maintenance building at the top there, and the only areas that we could be talking about are the open areas there to not mow. That's part of the disc golf course. Those are holes A and B and C that go down towards the power plant or towards the power grid there, and then back up and then around the maintenance building. Then they follow in. These holes see roughly 1,000 unique individuals that play there. I think thousands upon thousands of rounds. It's been in since 2004. Some of these are additional holes, but very loved by the course, and the no mow in that area. I can only assume that that's what he means because of the red arrow at the top. Doesn't really give me much indication, but it says there that not pictured are areas next to the maintenance facility, which you can clearly see around the maintenance facility there are the areas that I'm talking about. Same areas. Just doesn't go well. It's not attractive. Some people, we can flower it up and do things like that. But it's really just a mismanagement of that land. For us, it would just be, more headache, loss of traffic. I would consider 1,000 rounds a year to be a high traffic area, so that's just to eliminate that area together. Please, if you will, don't allow that area right there specifically. But I do want to point out the other areas as well. As a citizen of Frankfort, one of the areas that you've got here is next to the ball fields. Now, to grow this natural habitat, you're going to allow these plants to grow up full, tall. They're going to seed. They're going to pollen, right? I have allergies. A lot of people have allergies, right? This map, if you'll notice down in the bottom corner that Sean had, is aligned north to south. The wind blows west to east. To the east of our flower pollinating plants are the ball fields. That means we're going to be subjecting our little ones to getting hit in the face with pollen every time the wind picks up a little bit. It's just not a good fit. Not to mention that, this could be considered a conservation. I took more of this as more of a cutback on mowing to save man hours, to save equipment, gas. You're looking at $1,000 you're going to save at East Frankfort Park with that kind of mentality. The ball fields, on the other hand, once they've gotten seeded with these wild plants, we're talking about ragweed, Johnson grass, goldenrod. These are the type of plants that are going to come up in there. Johnson grass grows really fast. It seeds your ball field, you're going to be mowing your ball field more to keep that Johnson grass down. We all know this. The ragweed, the dandelions, they're going to get in your sand. We just spent a lot of money, I think, a couple years ago, replacing the sand in the ball fields. So I don't think it's a good fit for that area either. The middle area.
1 minute.
Sorry, thank you. The middle area is atrocious. It's up barbed wire behind chain link fence. It's one of the largest green spaces in the park, and it's already atrocious. It doesn't need any help to look any worse. It needs to be cleaned up and allow people to come in there. This park needs investment. What this no-mow area, and that's the name of it, is a disinvestment in East Frankfort Park. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we have Skip Hayes.
You need me to do something?
Just say your name.
Say my name. I'm Skip Hayes. I live here in Frankfort. Did you need other info? Okay. I came in support of the Franklin County Humane Society, and I guess my comment will come ahead of your all's. But it seems like an important issue. I probably should know more about it than I do before I came here, but I get the idea. And it seems, first of all, that if there wasn't a cul-de-sac there already, the road would have just ended like it used to on Sauer Boulevard before it had to be extended up that way and various other places. But then the extension would have been sort of like a road to the next development, whatever that would be, after the Social Security building. So it seems that the city or county would have gone ahead and built that road. Now, also, somewhere along the line, as this thing has to connect behind or almost behind the shelter and the Frankfort plant board property, although it looks like they might have contributed to that, I'm not sure. Someone told the designer to accommodate those facilities, whether it be the pump station or on back to whatever that road that goes back into the woods back in there. Somebody told their designer that they needed to include that in the drawing. And not only that, the vehicles that would have traveled that road are probably much heavier weight vehicles than would have been designed just for the shelter itself. The shelter is going to get deliveries, and they're going to get the animal ordinance person that brings strays and that kind of thing, his vehicle. But it's not going to really accommodate a lot of things besides people from the community and the people that work there. So I imagine that the design of this has been beefed up somewhat to accommodate heavier vehicles. And that's part of the cost, I believe, is what I understand. If it wasn't asked that it accommodate these other locations, I think probably a more efficient driveway into the shelter could have been made, maybe just pretty much a straight shot from the cul-de-sac to the shelter. And instead it's curved around to get over near the sewer pump station and different things like that. In the picture, a recent picture, it shows where the contractor's been coming in and out, and it's basically a straight shot back to the shelter that would have been probably more economical for the Humane Society. Now, it's my understanding that the sort of discussion here is who's paying for it and all, and it's been sort of put on their shoulders. So what happens when it has to be maintained?
1 minute.
Huh?
1 minute. 1 minute to.
As far as snow and all that sort of thing, is the city or county going to take care of that, or is that what's going to happen? And so they sort of take possession of this road after they pay to have it built? Is that the idea? So you can kind of see that's strange, isn't it? But anyway, I just want to come and support them today, and I appreciate you allowing me to be here.
Thank you,
Thank
Skip.
you.
Sharon Parrish.
My name is Sharon. My name is Sharon Parrish, and I'm obviously here to support the Humane Society. And I would just like to make a short statement. 12 years ago, I retired from my career, and I knew I wanted to do volunteer work. And I decided to volunteer with the Humane Society. It was the best decision I ever made. I've just become passionate about it. At that time, the animal shelter was a small county shelter that was struggling due to underfunding, inattention, and other problems, including a declining structure in a floodplain. As an open admission shelter, the Humane Society accepts all dogs and cats and had a very low live release rate at that time. Over the last several years, I have been seeing some incredible individuals, board members, staff, and especially volunteers who were determined to make a difference. The status quo was unacceptable, and everyone was determined to make a difference because we all wanted an animal shelter that our community could be proud of. The animal shelter today is a much different place. The animal care, especially the animal care, as well as the services provided to the public through free and low-cost spay-neuter programs, vaccine clinics, educational programs, and events are just absolutely amazing what they have accomplished. But most importantly, the live release rate is one of the highest in the state as well as the country for an open admission small county shelter. The Humane Society should be applauded for their efforts. The effort to build the new animal shelter has been a really exciting time for everyone, in spite of the time-consuming delays and indecision to provide financial support from local officials. When fundraising efforts started some years ago, the Humane Society asked the city for $1.6 million to help build the new shelter. After a long delay, a decision was made to pledge only $1 million of that request. Now, to expect the Humane Society to pay for a city street of $350,000 out of the $1 million seems unfair and was misleading. Please give the original $1 million to build a new shelter building. So many individuals, and especially the animals, are counting on you to make the right decision. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's the end of citizens' comments. We'll move on to the consent calendar.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Can I make a motion to move number 3 from the consent calendar to discussion or action items?
Anybody have an objection to this? All in favor? All right.
Mayor.
Are you there, Commissioner Rosen? Now we can't hear you, but you can hear us.
There we go.
You're on mute.
I'm going to make a movement off of consent items as well.
So we're going to move number 3 to discussion.
items. Mhm.
All right.
And could I also, Mayor, also number 9, could I just have that removed from the agenda? That would be great.
To remove number 9?
Yeah, to remove it, and we can bring it up another day, please.
Okay, any objections? That sound good, everyone?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So we'll scratch number 9.
Yeah, the consent calendar. It's the
So we'll just move number 3 first.
All right, so the consent calendar, item number 1 are the minutes from the work session on July 11th, 2022, and the regular meeting on July 25th, 2022. Item number 2 is our road salt bid for fiscal year 22-23 from Public Works. Staff is seeking approval to purchase road salt, I can only say this with a smile, Morton salt, up to the budgeted amount of $250,000. It's a cost of $120 per ton. Item number 4, staff is seeking approval of a change order number 2 and the final balancing change order to the contract with R.W. Davidson Contracting for the Holly Hills Stormwater Improvements Project. The Holly Hills Stormwater Improvements Project has been completed, and this will be the final payment to the contractor. It's a net total of $19,586 $252,000.13 is added to the contract, which brings it to a final cost of $252,177.41. And our KIA loan budget has availability to cover the cost of this change order. Item number 5, staff is seeking approval to enter into a contract with Comfort and Process Solutions to purchase materials and install a new cooling tower for the public safety building for a total cost of $70,711. This will require a budget amendment as this was not budgeted for fiscal year 22. Item number 6, Woodland Tree Care. Staff is requesting approval for an agreement with Woodland Tree Care for the maintenance of city right-of-way and park trees. The department only uses Woodland Tree Care when the job is too large for our park staff to safely maintain. Woodland Tree Care is currently on the state contract, and staff recommends approval of an amount of $40,000, up to $40,000, to be able to use Woodland Tree Care on an as-needed basis. Item number 7, staff is seeking approval for an emergency repair to truck number 59-1, which is a 2009 International Rail Loading garbage truck. This will allow the truck to be used for another 4 to 5 years. The total cost is $26,645, and funds are available in the current budget to pay for this. Item number 8, the purpose of this memo is to request authorization of a service agreement renewal with Stryker for the maintenance and repair of 5 Lucas CPR machines and 10 LifePak 1000 cardiac monitors for a period of 1 year. The total cost is $11,162.50. The Frankfort Fire Department uses these on a daily basis, and funds are budgeted in their budget. Item number 10 are personnel actions. We look to accept the promotion of Jason Monroe in the Fire and EMS Department on August 2nd, 2022. Promotion from Fire Captain to Assistant Fire Chief. The promotion of Patrick Clayton in the Fire and EMS Department on August 2nd, 2022, from Fire Captain to Fire Battalion Chief Training Officer. The promotion of Josh Kyle in Fire EMS on August 16th, 2022, from Fire Captain to Battalion Chief. The promotion of Andrew Willett in the Fire and EMS Department, August 16th, 2022, from Fire Sergeant to Fire Captain. The promotion of Andrew Fiegel, Fire and EMS, August 16th, 2022, from Fire Sergeant to Fire Captain. The promotion of Patrick Piles in the Fire and EMS Department on August 16th, 2022, from Firefighter 2 to Fire Sergeant. Also, the promotion of John Varner in Public Works in our garage, from Garage Foreman to Garage Superintendent on August 2nd, 2022. We're also accepting the appointment of Dennis Daly in Public Works Transit on August 2nd, 2022 as a transit driver. Also, the appointment of John Mitchell in Public Works Solid Waste on August 16th, 2022 as a Public Works Tech in Solid Waste. We're also accepting the resignation of Christopher Blandford in the Fire EMS Department on August 4th, 2022 as a Firefighter 2. We are accepting the resignation of Adam Curry in the Parks and Rec Department on August 9th, 2022 as Golf Superintendent and authorized payout of accrued leave. We're accepting the resignation of William Johnston in the Police Department on August 30th, 2022 as a Patrol Officer 2 and authorized payout of accrued leave. We are also appointing Palmer Thompson in the Fire EMS Department on August 16th, 2022 as a firefighter. The appointment of Catherine Matola in the Fire EMS Department on August 16th, 2022 as a firefighter. The appointment of Tiffany Grash in Fire EMS on August 16th, 2022 as a firefighter. And the appointment of William Beers in the Fire and EMS Department on August 16th, 2022 as a firefighter.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, any discussion on the consent calendar? Ask the clerk to call for a vote.
Commissioner Rosen,
Yes.
Commissioner Unger,
Yes.
Commissioner May,
Yes.
Commissioner Waldridge,
Yes.
Mayor Wilkerson.
Yes. All right, consent calendar is adopted. We'll next move on to board and appointments. First, we have Frankfort Electric and Water Plant Board, the reappointment of John Cubine, expiring September 23rd, 2026.
Motion to approve.
Motion, Commissioner Waters, to approve. Looking for a second.
Second.
And a second, Commissioner May. All right, any discussion on this motion to reappoint?
Yes, I
Commissioner
have some
Rosen.
comments.
Okay, Commissioner
Can you
Rosen?
hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. There are 4 reasons why I'm not in favor of reappointing John Cubine. And they extend from, the 4 items are, there's been no tangible progress by the plant board towards renewable energy. They've offered community solar or are working toward that, but that is a small step towards a much bigger project, and they have taken no initiative in this area. The second reason is KYMEA is not being watched by or participated in by the Frankfort Plant Board. They recently signed a contract for coal, and they don't take an active role to understand what KYMEA is doing. There is no interest or effort to have a wind contract for wind energy. The third one, energy efficiency, was a program that was started before the virus. It wasn't really followed up to say, okay, here's energy efficiency, and please go ahead and implement these ideas, these efforts. And now they offer a program for economically disadvantaged persons or lower income who also own their own home. So if they qualify, there's something. And if not, there's no effort, interest in promoting energy efficiency. Fourth, the recent change to water bills, that they are increasing the standard fee to be hooked up to water, but not the fee for the water. So small users, people who are trying to conserve, have no ability to do that. It's futile because the standard just connection fee is going up. So it's a burden on lower income people. So for those reasons, I am not in favor of approving John Cubine to the board.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Rosen. Is there any other discussion?
Yeah.
Yes, Commissioner Waters.
I just want to clarify, I know I made the motion to put him on. And one thing that we have to agree that Mr. Cubine has served in the city for this position on Frankfort Plant Board. And in some of the comments that Commissioner Rosen has shared, she never really mentioned Cubine himself. She mentioned they. And we have to understand that we're asking for one individual to be put back on this board, and he is one voice and the way that he sees things. Because when she says that they're not working, I appreciate this board with Mr. Cubine's leadership of supporting Commissioner Kelly's initiative in Mineral. They've done really well and wanted to participate. I want to say that underneath this leadership that he's put, $15,000 toward this and hoping to maybe move more in this direction of supporting NREL. I feel like with KYMEA, Commissioner Rosen, I believe you mentioned they again. This is the reappointment of Mr. Cubine, and when we mention they, we have to speak just on one individual, which is Mr. Cubine. And Mr. Gary, who is over the Frankfort Plant Board, he actually serves on the KYME board. So then he would be another voice that would need to be brought to the table in this. The energy sufficient program that they're doing for people that may not be able to afford, they actually did put more money into that budget. So they're trying to work in that direction to help our community. There was more money put in that. And as far as the change in the water bills, when you look over their minutes and you look over the business of the Frankfort Plant Board, yes, the rates did go up, but they didn't go up as much as they probably should have. And they actually saved us 50% from that because Frankfort Plant Board actually moved around things in the Frankfort Plant Board, so they didn't have to raise our rates to the percentage that they should have. So right now, I feel like we are moving in the right direction. We need consistency on this board. We need consistency within our board because we are pushing to be more solar and more efficiency as Commissioner Kelly is pushing, May is pushing. But I feel that I stand by making this motion and putting him back on the board and moving us in the right direction.
Okay,
Commissioner Unger.
Well, I'd just like to make a few comments. I do appreciate every commissioner's comments on this. You know, the plant board is a really important board. We have to take these appointments very seriously. I do agree with Commissioner Rosen that I don't think I'm happy with the speed that the plant board has worked towards the topic of renewable energy. Recently agreeing to another coal contract, I wasn't happy to see that. But I do believe that John Cubine is well respected in the Frankfort community. When I've asked people about, working with John, I've heard nothing but really good things. So as long as we can continue to communicate what this board wants to do, then I'm supportive. But I'd also like to put a call out there to any individuals in the community that are interested in being a future appointee of the plant board. Think about it. Talk to your friends. I'd like to see some younger faces on the board. And I'm just putting that call out there because I think we need the board. One thing that Anna Marie has mentioned, to truly understand KYMEA and our role with them. So I think that's really important. So I'm just putting that out there to anyone that might be listening to the meeting or is here and can think of anybody that could be interested in the future. So reach out to us. Thank you.
Would Mr. Cubine like to speak?
You want to say anything? Mr. Cubine is here.
Would you like to speak?
I have one more comment in
Commissioner Rosen.
response to.
Go ahead, Commissioner Rosen.
Okay, and that is that John, as the chair of the board, does set the tone, and that I don't feel there is any real support for renewable energy. And I do have one question for John, which is, are you currently employed by the chamber, the Kentucky Chamber, and their interest in renewable energy is non-existent, and is that a conflict of interest for you?
That's a good starting point.
Pardon, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, I'll be happy to, and thanks for the opportunity to speak, and I'll try to answer those 4 comments. I am a consultant for the Kentucky Chamber. I've been on for 15 years. I'm not an employee. I'm not a lobbyist. I do work in budget, taxes, unemployment insurance, and Medicaid. The Chamber has thousands of members, including large utility companies, banks, Toyota Motor Corporation, United Parcel Service, Humana, UK Hospital. I'm not involved in setting the policy. I do work based on what the topics are. I write reports, and that's what I've done for 15 years. So I don't have any interest in terms of involvement of going to lobby on any particular bills. They assign me bills, I review them, I monitor tax receipts, Medicaid Oversight Committee, Tobacco Oversight Committee, Pension Oversight Committee. And that's been my role for, like I said, about 15 years. So, and I've always disclosed that. So I don't believe it's a conflict. I've always disclosed it, with the city. I'm paid 1099 by the chamber. I file occupational tax with the city. I have a business license number. I have always had. Since I've been a city resident, those reports are on file. So on the other 4 items, on community solar, we've had 2 board members, and the way we've handled that is Jason DeLam, who you all recently appointed, and Catherine Dutton Mitchell have headed that up. It's in the current budget. We've budgeted to build first phase. We're going to be delayed a little bit, which is positive in that because of the Inflation Reduction Act recently passed by Congress, the costs that were reimbursed could be as much as 50% less, 30% plus 2 10% add-ons, which means the cost we were looking at was roughly, the subscription rates were roughly $5 a month. They could go down as low as $3 or a little above $3 if we're eligible for all 50%. Our attorneys right now are working with a lot of the national groups to see how far can we push it before, can we do the RFP? We've already picked a site, unless another site comes up. If we can do an RFP, can we let an RFP? We don't want to make ourselves ineligible for the federal funds. So, but our plan was to have had an RFP on the street this fall. The committee that's working internally is working those issues. We took the visit to LG&E solar facility in Shelby County. LG&E goes with about 100% subscription rate before they build. They're in their 4th or 5th phase. From my understanding, the work that Catherine and Jason are doing is probably looking more on a 70-80% subscription rate before we build. There's been some other discussions, and one of the things we learned in the Louisville Gas and Electric visit is they've had a lot of corporations buy the subscriptions, not use them themselves, and then donate them to schools, nonprofits, Habitat for Humanity, and other groups to get the value of that energy credit. So the community solar, my feeling is we're not slow walking it, but we do have to look in terms of what the cost is. We've tried to make sure that there's no cost offsets, that will support itself. That's our feeling, that we can get very close to that if in fact these federal, it won't be tax credits because we're obviously nonprofit, but it would be reimbursement back to us. The home energy audits, we had previously had a home energy audit program in the plant board. The first year did fairly well. Second year, we did not have many takers. Then we went into COVID. We decided to partner with Bluegrass Community Action for 2 reasons. One, they have the state contract for the federal funds for low-income home energy assistance, both for energy assistance and for weatherization. By putting our money with them, and we doubled it from 20 to 40,000, we actually have been able to, and based on our first year reports, before when we'd have a home energy audit, the feeling was that a lot of the lower income families didn't have the resources to do the work. Through our contract with Bluegrass Community Action, they can use other funds and leverage them and actually help do the work. Our cap is $2,000 per household. Bluegrass Community Action actually has the ability and the funding to actually replace systems. So they can do that work, and it is focused on low income. Our board felt very strong that a lot of lower income households didn't have the access to even know how to sign up. Bluegrass Community Action actually works through those programs along with a number of other programs. So right now their guidelines are 200% of the poverty level, and that's who they focus on. Now that means it's not necessarily available to everyone in the community, but I think the plant board felt very strongly that we ought to focus our resources on the people who are most impacted by higher energy bills. That's what the reason that we're in our second year of that contract. The water rates, Tom Marshall came and spoke before us. We did go back and look at it. And it's true, our water consumption that we sell actually has been going down, which is good because of conservation and other things. Our base cost and our last rate increase, which the plant board had looked at in 2017 and delayed for the years while we were basically trying to resolve the issue on the reservoir at Tanglewood, was we have known for 5 or 6 years that was going to have to happen. The reservoir was we knew we needed to replace that reservoir back in 2010. I was up there the night when we tore down the first one and we're pouring the footer for the new current reservoir, the 6.5 million gallons. We were pouring the base and water was seeping through the old reservoir out. It was built, as we always say within the planning board, it was built when Grant was president, and it was not earthquake resistant. It was leaking. The engineering reports all said, in essence, it was a public safety concern. So we need to replace it, but there is a cost to that. And we're doing some interdepartmental borrowing that we can basically fund the cost at about 1%, a little over 1%. But we are raising the rate, and we did add it to administrative costs because, and if you'll notice your bill, in each line of business, electric, water, cable, there's a base fee and then there's usage fee, whether it's electric, water, or if you add on, if you buy classic cable or whatever you buy. That's the cost to fund the basic operation, the trucks, the water lines, everything else. That cost is there no matter how many gallons we sell. So if conservation continues to work, if we continue to sell fewer gallons, that cost does not go away. That cost is going to be there because whether we move 1 million gallons a day or 7 million gallons a day, those same pipes have to be serviced. Those same crews are on the road. So that was the decision. We went back and looked at it. The feeling was 2 cents a day was the best way to do it. Certainly we could have looked at going, and we went back and took a second look after Tom Marshall spoke. But the feeling was that approach was still better than raising the per gallon usage. That's how that happened. And what was the fourth point, Anne Marie? I'm sorry. Community solar. Oh, the KYMEA. KYMEA, as you know, we signed with that. We have not had electric increase since 2016. There's a lot of pressure on right now. If you look nationwide, most people are going up 15% or more. We did sign a new coal contract. short-term with Duke to replace Illinois' power. The Duke power was at a lower rate. We do have the agreement to add solar to our portfolio. We already have hydro in Cumberland. But for short-term, it's a smaller contract. And basically, Gary Zing, who's our general manager, is on the KEME board. He reports to us at every meeting what happens, what's coming up. And Gary brings any contract, anything more than 1 year, he has to bring to us before he can even vote on a KYMEA. Gary lets us know every single contract. So the bottom line, no matter how fast we go on solar, no matter how fast we do anything else, in the short term, when it's dark, when it's winter outside, whatever, you have to have backup power. Because battery technology is not there at this point to have that kind of storage. It's no different than automobiles. You have to have some ability to either recharge or generate that power all the time or have the backup power. So yes, we did renew a short-term contract at a lower price than the contract that rolled off, and it is a short-term contract. The longest term contract we have is with, it's Western Kentucky. Anyway, it rolls. No, not Paducah. The big one out of Hopkinsville, Big Rivers. Big Rivers rolls off, and that's our major coal contract. It rolls off in 2029. I don't know what this board, certainly beyond, if you choose to reappoint me beyond that term, beyond any of the current board members, beyond KYMEA, but that's going to be up. And if you look at the technology and what's moved currently, by 2029, the need for that type of contract with that much coal, because the battery technology is the ability to store the solar during the day and carry you over in the evenings and in cloudy weather is going to make a huge difference. That's going to be what brings solar to allow us actually to phase out some of these other fossil fuel contracts. But for right now, we've not had any reliability issues. We've never had a blackout or a brownout. So right now, we are actively looking. We are going to do the community solar, and I think you're going to see, like I said, we would have the RFP, and I think you would see the panels going up early next year. But I think from due diligence, if the Inflation Reduction Act can give us a 50% reimbursement on that cost, which would basically make it tremendously affordable in terms of marketing it. We have done we've done renewable energy credits, we've adopted that. So we've done a lot of things along that line, and we've also tried to look at the ability, and we learned this from Louisville Gas and Electric. As you know, we did some electric charging stations. The new federal bill, not this last one before that, is going to put charging stations about every 50 miles on the interstate. What we're looking at, and what Louisville Gas and Electric has pioneered with, is going to businesses. Louisville Gas and Electric is funding the initial installation maintenance costs, paying it back over 3 to 5 years. If the business say, we'd like to put it in because we think that will bring customers in. And so LG&E has given them basically a installment plan if they want to install them. So there's a lot of options there that we're looking at. So certainly maybe we're not going as fast as a lot of people would want us to go, but in terms of not doing any cost shifting to other rate payers, we feel at this point we've got low rates here. We know you are interested in economic development. We're certainly interested. More customers, we sell more power, more water, more cable, which keeps our rates down. And we think giving you all affordable rates is very important in your overall strategy. So I'd be happy to answer any of the questions.
Thank you for all that.
Thank you, sir. I'm sorry.
You know where we're going. You get the gist.
Yes, sir. And I think we're in sync with you all. Like Commissioner May said, or Commissioner Waldridge, we participated in the NREL. We're interested in where you're all going on some other projects. And like I said, the way we do it, we don't have. I might just say this: Louisville Gas Electric, investor-owned utilities, have their revenues. Then they have their ratepayer shares, and they have the ability, whether it's sponsoring a box at the Yum Center or Rupp Arena or doing whatever. Our money is in silos. We don't cross-subsidize utilities. Cable supports cable, water supports water, electric supports that. Right now, water and cable are borrowing money from electric and paying back with interest. Because all of our customers aren't the same. Every electric customer is not our water customer or vice versa. So we don't have what you'd call a general fund. So it's tough for us to take money from electric and not use it for something other than electric unless we have a payback to put that money back in electric. because those are different customers. And for example, our electric, almost half of our electric usage is big utilities, big companies, not the residential. I mean, so, but like, you know, the distilleries are huge water customers and mean a lot to us. I mean, and we got the grant along with partnering with the county. So we're going to be putting, Frankfort, the city is already a gigabyte city. We're doing the expansion so that every home in Franklin County will get past the opportunity to take a high-speed internet, which for economic development, for people moving to this community, because there are people who want to maybe live in the county, work in the city, vice versa. We think that's huge. And part of our grant was, it didn't matter where it was in Franklin County, we weren't going to skip you. Everybody gets a shot at high-speed internet. And it's a 5 gig system, capability of going to 10 gig, black fiber. So it's state-of-the-art and will last us for years. And that's about a total of a $40 million project.
Any other questions for Mr. Cubine? We thank you for being here. And
Thank you, sir.
explaining some of
Thank you
that.
all.
It was
Thanks for your
helpful.
consideration. Appreciate it.
Nod.
Call for a vote.
Commissioner Rosen?
No.
Commissioner Unger?
Yes.
Commissioner May?
Yes.
Commissioner Waldridge?
Yes.
Mayor Wilkerson?
Yes. And that motion carries. And reappointment of John Cubine. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Next, we have Frankfort Human Rights Commission, the appointment of Bruce Brooks. This is Bruce Brooks Jr. He's not here, but with the term expiring December 1st, 2023. It's a vacant term. Any discussion on this? Or is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion, Commissioner Unger,
Second.
and a second, Commissioner May. Is there any discussion?
Sounds like a great addition.
What do you say?
Huh? Yes.
Any other? All right, we'll call for a vote.
Commissioner Rosen?
Yes.
Commissioner Unger?
Yes.
Commissioner May?
Yes.
Commissioner Waldridge?
Yes.
Mayor Wilkerson?
Yes. And congratulations, Bruce. And next, we'll go back to the discussion item. That was number 3 on the consent calendar, the old landfill maintenance agreement. So I'll turn it over to our city manager.
Yes, thank you. And I will ask Katie Beard to come back into the room to discuss with this. We were actually talking about it this morning. This has been a long-term maintenance agreement with Colin Jones. This is from the 1960s with his family. And this is an agreement for them to maintain the landfill, to move soil, make sure that runoff is correct. But I know that we all had some questions perhaps on environmental issues, up to code, and how this all came to be, because this seems like a little bit unusual agreement.
Yes, it is. So in 1960, the city had a lease agreement with the property owner, Colin Jones Sr., to operate a landfill. My understanding is that it was in operation for 10 to 15 years, and after that, they began to take our waste to where it goes now. But at that time, when it's done, when you're done with the landfill, you're supposed to cap it, and you're responsible for maintaining it forever. So the city had, I guess, for a period of time, and there's a gap in the records so that I can't tell exactly what happened, but for a period of time we were paying Colin Jones to kind of top dress the area, because over time as the waste decays, it will settle out and cause ruts and ponding areas, and we need to make sure that, because there is a water stream downstream, we want to make sure that the water runs off of the surface and not down through the waste and then out. So that is a water quality concern that we have to monitor as well. And I guess over time they just kind of went back and forth, it sounds like, from what I can tell, where the Jones family maintained the area, and then the city for a time we took over, and we would haul soil from the Carpenter farm and different
sources of soil that we could find and keep that going. But I guess in 2015 it began to be burdensome, and we were running out of sources of material. So they talked to Mr. Jones, Colin Jones Jr. at that time, and kind of created this new agreement for us to pay him at the rate of $12.50 a month to maintain the area, to keep it dressed and draining appropriately, and the waste covered with topsoil to keep the cap on that waste that is left there. So that's kind of been going on for the last few years. The contract, or that agreement, just expired in June, and so he's willing to continue on for the next 5 years is what we're proposing in the new agreement, to continue on with this same procedure. So.
And that was a public landfill, but it was on private land?
Correct, yes.
Then in your research, how did that seems unusual, but.
Yeah, I'm not sure how normal that would be even back then in the 60s. I don't know why that was. I know that he had other uses for that farm. This is about I can't remember, 15 or 20 acre area, and he farms the rest of that land. So I don't know if he just didn't want to sell it. He wanted to use it. I'm not sure what happened to make this arrangement come into play.
Commissioner Unger.
Okay. Thank you all for agreeing to move this over, because this just, I had to hear more.
Yeah, it's unusual.
So, can you tell me, I wrote down some questions, how we are doing the right thing environmentally, and who is looking at the property, if you know how often, and how do we know it is not leaching out into this watershed that's nearby?
Yeah.
And are we going to be paying this Mr. Jones for the rest of the Earth's existence?
Possibly. No, I think their first question, as far as the environmental concerns, I know that maybe 3 or 4 years ago, Waste Management with the state was involved. They visited the site. They permitted this area for runoff. And so at that time, it was all in compliance. And our office does periodic, honestly, it's just periodic inspections at this time. We have discussed making it a monthly inspection so that we know for sure that everything's being handled appropriately and that we're not causing an environmental impact.
So mostly we're monitoring.
Yes.
Okay.
That's correct.
And I understand that it's cheaper for us to pay him to continue to put topsoil down if anything shifts. I just worry that maybe that isn't the best way to deal with it. But that's sort of all I have.
Yeah, I think I could dig into this. I honestly don't have a great answer for another solution or a long-term solution to where we're not paying Mr. Jones $12.50 a month for time infinite. So I think what we can do in our office is just dig into what are other communities doing when they close a landfill. What are other ways that this could be addressed? Is there another way? I know that they did research a while back before I was here. Could they dig up some of that material and dispose of it in other ways or recycle it? And it just was going to be cost prohibitive to do that. At the time, we can revisit some of those ideas or see if there's maybe something else now that could be done. But
well, and I just wondered if another 5 years is too long. Maybe we need to bring this back up at some point and talk about it again.
Okay.
Commissioner Rosen, you have a question?
I was just wondering, I don't have a feel for how large it is. How large is the landfill area?
The area is about 15 acres.
Oh.
pretty good size.
So, I wonder if it would maybe qualify for some type of brownfield development, but that's just a wild thought.
Yeah, we can explore that. I'm not sure.
Is there any urgency on doing this tonight?
No, we're still paying Mr. Jones the fee, just carrying on, even though it's expired. He's honoring that. So,
And just to point it out that if there's any concern, the contract can be terminated with a 90-day notice. So whether it's for 1 year or 5 years, that with increased inspections and making sure that things are going right, that they can be terminated anytime with a 90-day notice.
Does that make it better? No action tonight, or?
I'd rather no action.
I'd rather postpone action.
Is that a motion?
I don't know if we needed a motion, did we?
I don't know.
If we moved it to discussion, so.
You moved it to discussion.
So can we keep it in discussion?
We can
Table
table it until, yeah. That's
Motion to table.
Second.
All right, motion to table.
I'll second.
Thank you. Thank
No,
you, Katie.
Second,
you.
Commissioner Waldridge. The old landfill maintenance agreement with Colin Jones. Any other discussion? If not, I'll ask the clerk to call for a vote.
Commissioner Rosen?
Yes.
Commissioner Unger?
Yes.
Commissioner May?
Yes.
Commissioner Waldridge?
Yes.
Mayor Wilkerson?
Yes. All right. Action item number 1.
Okay.
We have a first reading, and this will be our city clerk tonight.
Yes. Do we have a sponsor for it?
Oh, we need a sponsor. We need a sponsor for this one.
I'll sponsor.
Commissioner Waters would like to sponsor this one.
An ordinance rezoning properties located on Broadway Street and Wilkinson Boulevard with the addresses of 402 Broadway Street and 405 Wilkinson Boulevard, more specifically described as PVA map number 061-00-00-103.18, PVA map number 061-00-00-104.00 from Special Government District SG to Urban Mixed Use District UM. This ordinance approves a zone map amendment for the properties with the addresses of 402 Broadway Street and 405 Wilkinson Boulevard, more specifically described as PVA map numbers 061-00-00-103.18 and 061-00-104.00 from Special Government District SG to Urban Mixed Use District UM.
Any discussion? We'll move on to another
Say,
first.
for all those who may not know, this is parcels B and C. So important to have the zone change so we can have development there.
And we'll move on to another first reading, looking for a sponsor.
I'll sponsor.
All right, Commissioner May.
Okay. An ordinance rezoning properties located on Home Street, Warsaw Street, and Barrett Avenue with the addresses of 211 Home Street, 213 Home Street, and 215 Home Street, more specifically described as PVA map numbers 061-44-006.00, 061-44-04-007.00, and 061-44-004-008.00 from General Commercial District CG to Industrial Commercial District IC. This ordinance approves a zone map amendment for the properties with the addresses of 211 Home Street, 213 Home Street, and 215 Home Street, more specifically described as PVA map numbers 061-44-04-006.00, 061-44-04-007.00, and 061-44-04-008.00 from General Commercial District CG to Industrial Commercial District IC.
Any discussion on this first reading? Zone
Yes.
change? Commissioner Rosen?
I understand that the purpose of this is to build storage facilities. And in light of our goals to revitalize Home Street, I'm very concerned that this is the right direction to go and question that we should do this at this time, or else that we should find out more information about what is going to be actually placed there.
Any other discussion? We're not voting tonight, but we can, before the second reading, we can get more information.
I think that would be helpful to understand that, and I understand that this location is fairly close to downtown, where we're trying to revitalize and do some things, and just really am concerned that this might be a mistake for our future plans. And so having a presentation on what exactly would go in and how it would look maybe would help us.
Thank you, Commissioner Rosen. Any other discussion? Okay. All right, we'll now move on to another first reading, looking for a sponsor. Action item number 3. All right, and that is Commissioner Unger.
A joint ordinance of the City of Frankfort Board of Commissioners and Fiscal Court of Franklin County, Kentucky. An ordinance amending City of Frankfort Code of Ordinances Sections 36.196 and 36.197 relating to members and terms of the City-County Capital Community Economic Industrial Development Authority, DBA KCDC. This ordinance amends sections 36.196 and 36.197 of the City of Frankfort Code of Ordinances to provide for the appointment and term of a jointly appointed 7th member of the City-County Capital Community Economic Industrial Development Authority.
Yes, and this is yes, City Manager, go ahead.
Just for others to note that may not know, so Donnie Werner of Frost Brown Todd was retained by the city to provide independent expert legal advice about special purpose government entities that focus on economic and industrial development. His memo was sent to the Board of Commissioners, and he presented before the Board of Commissioners on the ways that the city could reform KCDC, withdraw from KCDC, or dissolve the organization. Individually, commissioners have met with, spoken to, or emailed staff and others their ideas and priorities after Mr. Werner's presentation. Staff also collected KCDC priorities from commissioners based on the July presentation by Terry Bradshaw, the Executive Director of KCDC, about the goals and objectives that they currently have. With this information in hand, staff suggests to the Board of Commissioners to consider adding a 7th board member to the KCDC jointly with the county as part of an overall effort to reform KCDC and improve economic development for the city. And this was the first recommendation that Mr. Werner made. Per statute, this is a joint appointment by the city and county, and thus the county fiscal court must approve a similar type ordinance if this would come to pass.
Thank you. Commissioner Waters?
I just want to make sure that before this comes back before us, that the county will have knowledge that we are approving this and that we're moving forward with this, because it seems to be very surprising to KCDC and members of the county board, of the county court, of saying, you know, they were unaware that we were taking this step forward in doing this. So will there be a conversation with the county on this before it comes back before us that we both agree. It's pointless if we say yes to this. If the county has not knowledge of this and don't know to vote for this, then it's sort of pointless for us because it has to be a joint decision. So I just ask that they be made aware so that discussion can start. That's all.
Commissioner Rosen?
Yes, I think that's a good point from Commissioner Waldridge. But that was one of the major points from the study that we had done, which hopefully the magistrates would have looked at the study of KCDC and seen that this is an option that would maybe help them function as an organization, as a board.
We just need to know that we're taking action. So there's a lot of things we have on paper. I would hate for the county to move forward without us knowing of a lot of things that we've talked about or have on paper. So here, I just would like that communication to happen.
And that's
Good.
the,
And I think,
go ahead, Commissioner Rosen.
I think it would be an excellent addition and help that board function by having an odd number of representatives, and they'd be able to work more efficiently that way.
And I think that's the intent. If our goal is to, one of our pillars of our strategic plan is economic development, and I think if we can strengthen our primary economic development agency's board by adding not only an odd number, a seventh member, but also it's just reinforcement. If we have a lot of talent and brain power in our community, why wouldn't we, if we're allowed to under statute, to add a seventh board member? And I can understand that sometimes more is not always better, but going from 6 to 7, I can see we're not adding a 17th board member, we're adding just one extra person. So to me, this just makes, I don't see the downside in adding another board member. And as far as communication with the county, obviously they have to, if we're going to do this, they also have to approve a similar ordinance. It has to be a joint ordinance. KCDC would have to adopt it into its bylaws. But this is, I don't know if there's a perfect way to announce to everyone what we want to do, but this seems like a good first step. We do a first reading, and now the work begins. We work and coordinate with the fiscal court and see what their ideas on this are. Maybe perhaps this is not something they take up anytime soon, but we can't. We have to do something at some time, and this is the time to at least put this out there. And I look forward to I think this is a good first step, and it'll help us sharpen, along with our city appointees to KCDC. We can help sharpen their focus and just get us on track. And a lot of this stuff I think we can do in-house too. So that's something we'll look forward to in coming steps.
Just want to make it.
Commissioner Unger.
I also think it's a good first step, and I hope the fiscal court thinks that as well, because the mayor and the judge would then come together to appoint that seventh member. I think that's a pretty powerful thing for us to be able to do. So, thank you.
We have to work together.
Yep.
And we can. And I should point out too, there are parameters that we could put on this appointment. Right now, it's the 3 that are appointed by the city and the 3 that are appointed by the county. Really, it's just they have to live in the city or the county, right? There are no other parameters. But if that's something that the city commission decides that they think is important, or the fiscal court, we can take that into consideration. Any other?
I rest my case.
Action item number 4.
Yes, staff is requesting approval to surplus a 2005 Ford Explorer. This Explorer is no longer in safe operating condition, and this vehicle will be replaced by a new leased vehicle through our new agreement with Enterprise Fleet Management.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion, Commissioner Unger. Commissioner Walters, second, Commissioner Unger. Is there any discussion on this action item? Okay, seeing none, hearing none, I'll ask the clerk to call for a vote.
Commissioner Rosen?
Yes.
Commissioner Unger?
Yes.
Commissioner May?
Yes.
Commissioner Waldridge?
Yes.
Mayor Wilkerson?
Yes. Moving on to action item number 5.
Staff is requesting authorization for the police department to surplus outdated firearms that are no longer in use and trade these firearms to Keesler Police Supply for store credit. Keesler Police Supply is the state contract holder for police firearms and ammunition, and they've provided a trade-in quote of $5,825.
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion, Commissioner Walters, second, Commissioner May. Any discussion? Clerk, will you call for a vote, please?
Commissioner Rosen?
Yes.
Commissioner Unger?
Yes.
Commissioner May?
Yes.
Commissioner Waldridge?
Yes.
Mayor Wilkerson?
Yes. And action item number 6.
Yes, so action item 6 and 7 are related. We'll treat them as two separate agreements. You all may recalled that we received additional ARPA funds last year, clean water funds that the governor announced, and now this is the actual approval to receive those funds. So staff is requesting the Board of Commissioners to pass a resolution accepting funds in the amount of $1,872,698 from the Cleaner Water Program for the Prevention Park Pump Station. These funds are provided through the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, Coronavirus State Fiscal Recovery Fund, and must be obligated by December 31st, 2024. The Kentucky Infrastructure Authority requires the city to pass the attached resolution accepting the grant funds, and there is no additional match required from the city. And this will be in support of city and county joint efforts in addressing the Farmdale Sanitation District, and that the Prevention Park Pump Station is a key part of that, to upgrade that.
Motion to. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Unger and a second by Commissioner Waldridge. Any discussion? Seeing none. Commissioner Rosen? Commissioner
I
Rosen?
think this will be a great improvement for Farmdale, which has had problems for quite a while.
We have sewer in the house. If anybody wants to ask any questions, I don't guess so. If not, ask the clerk to call for a vote.
Commissioner Rosen?
Yes.
Commissioner Unger?
Yes.
Commissioner May?
Yes.
Commissioner Waldridge?
Yes.
Mayor Wilkerson?
Yes. Number 7.
Yes. And so this is a separate second announcement, most recent announcement with Cleaner Water Program funds that staff is requesting Board of Commissioners to authorize you, Mayor, to sign a letter with the Bluegrass ad agreeing to utilize the 2022 Cleaner Water Program grant funds to aid the county, water districts, and city and the plant board. These funds are provided through the American Rescue Plan Act, the Coronavirus State Fiscal Recovery Fund, and must be obligated by December 31st, 2024. Franklin County was awarded approximately $3.1 million in ARPA funds for Cleaner Water Program project, as I mentioned, the second round of funding. The county has proposed that the funding be split in half. The county and other water districts will utilize half the funds, and the city and Frankfort Plant Board will split the remaining $1.5 million for wastewater and water projects. And again, there's no additional match required from the city.
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion?
I just want to say just a big shout out to our sewer department. I did a tour not too long ago over there. I was very impressed with their work and all that they're doing in the sewer department. And if there's one department in this area that is ready for growth in Frankfort, I'd say that it's the sewer department. So I appreciate it, and we're ready for growth, and we're ready for growth to move in. So I appreciate all the hard work that you guys have with saving money where we can and still extending out new lines and things of that nature. So thank you.
Ask the clerk to call for a vote.
Commissioner Rosen?
Yes.
Commissioner Unger?
Yes.
Commissioner May?
Yes.
Commissioner Waldridge?
Yes.
Mayor Wilkerson?
Yes. Motion carries. Action item number 8.
Thank you, Mayor. Previously, we had 3 members of the Board of Commissioners approved putting on today's agenda a discussion of the Humane Society Road. The Board of Commissioners can discuss the road only or can make a motion for a vote as well. And I would like to ask Eric Cockley to come up and provide a brief summary on this road issue now for the board.
Evening, everyone. So this project from the get-go has been a little bit different than most typical development projects we do. As you all know, the Humane Society leased a portion of a property from the city to construct the facility. As such, they were exempt from zoning requirements, so we were able to be fairly flexible in terms of other zoning requirements that we would have had to use if they were some other entity that had actually purchased property or a private developer, things of that nature. So we tried the best we could to work with the Humane Society's design team through the review with our various city agencies and all that in terms of the actual site layout, review and that kind of stuff, and the issue of the drive itself. Public Works, as I think has been testified by other folks before you, Public Works uses that drive or use the existing gravel drive to take spoils and store other things back on the property. There's also a sewer pump station there, and then a small portion of it that the plant board uses to access. So in reviewing this, and there's a reason I call it a drive. The drive, it's been stated by multiple people that this is a city street. It's not a city street. We haven't dedicated any right of way. We've done a platting activity to create an access easement for the benefit of all users, including the Humane Society, the city's various departments, and the plant board, so that everyone would have access to it. But the drive is just that. It's a shared access drive. So via our platting process, the city has committed to future maintenance of that drive in terms of its ultimate, many years from now, hopefully resurfacing eventually, as well as, snow pushing and things of that nature. So that's how we've reviewed it. The standard by which that drive has been constructed does not meet any of our typical road sections that we would approve if this were dedicated right of way that some developer was building that we were going to then accept. In those cases, we would also have required a letter of credit for the cost of construction of the road to be provided at time of construction, in case the developer, in this case the Humane Society, who we all know are not developers, that's why we're not treating them that way, would have had to provide that in the event that something went sideways during development of this, so that we could finish that construction. It would also involve posting of what we call defect security, which is another separate letter of credit that covers a portion of that cost in case we have material defects once we do accept maintenance of the road. In this case, once again, it's not a road, it's a private drive. We haven't dedicated right of way. The city has taken on the commitment to do future maintenance. I think that just made sense when I was talking to both Laura and then formerly city manager Tommy Russell, that ultimately down the road, this will need maintenance eventually, resurfacing eventually, and we can all imagine the conversation we'll have then. So it was a lot easier to just, as a willing partner, say, look, we'll accept future maintenance. We're using it too, as has been pointed out by multiple people, with equipment, and so is the plant board, and so we can go through that. I'm happy to answer any other questions you all may have about anything that's been testified up to this point, or anything I haven't kind of briefly touched on about the review of the property and kind of generally what the situation really is with the drive as part of your discussion. So I'll just make myself available if you have any other questions for me.
Eric, if I can ask a question, one of the things, just for clarity, as a private drive is different from a public road, because a public road requires that you have sidewalks, street trees, and something else I think you mentioned.
Yeah, so in all of our road typicals, they're all
Right.
a little bit different
And we're not
between pavement
requiring
width and depth and things of that nature. But in addition to laying out a certain depth of, DGA, which is essentially the stone you build a road on, a certain depth of coat asphalt and a certain depth of top coat, we also generally require on all of our street typicals, curb and gutter, street trees, sidewalks, street lights, things of that nature. This road doesn't have those things. Once again, they were exempt from zoning, so we were in a position to review the road in a simpler terms of what will meet their needs, what will be most effective, that our equipment won't destroy it, and then obviously what fire and public safety is comfortable that they can get through with their equipment as well if there's ever an unfortunate incident, at the Humane Society, which is what we do with all of our development review. So, but it's, most of this is a 20-foot wide width drive. The portion from Flint Avenue to the turnoff for the plant board is 24 feet wide. Typically in a parking lot, for example, that we would review based on our normal regs, a two-way drive aisle would be 24 feet. Or an entrance drive typically would be 24 feet with an entrance and an ingress lane.
So what you're sharing is that basically the amount of what is being built right now is about 350,000 is roughly is what we're sort of putting, which is just a fraction of what it would have cost given, I guess, previous conversation way before the construction of this and the design of this, meeting with magistrates and things of that nature, when it was probably like about $1 million maybe that we were looking into if we actually made it into an actual road with the lights and the gutters and all of that. We're looking about what 1.5 million of what it possibly could have been.
I would hate to
put a number
toss
on
a
it,
number, but obviously those things all have costs. So that
But
would
this
have
is-
obviously increased the cost of the road,
Right.
certainly, yeah.
And the reason we're not requiring them to build this to a developer standard is because we maintain the
Is
ownership.
because
of
by
land.
virtue of the fact that they are leasing our property, they do not
We
they do not
maintain the
own it.
ownership.
Meaning we still own it. It's an activity we're allowing to have on city property. The city, by our zoning ordinance, is exempt from our zoning regulations. So that put me in a position to try to be as flexible as we could, as myself and Public Works and other folks. You know, obviously some of those folks like the utilities, sewer department, you know, they need what they need. But I know Katie and Sarah in Public Works and Chief Briscoe and myself tried to get down to whatever the basic thing we could handle that was going to be safe, functional, and hopefully durable.
So,
Well, we weren't around, or I wasn't, maybe Commissioner Waldridge. When the $1 million was pledged for this project, was discussion of the road mentioned then, or was it just toward the entire cost of the project?
I was not directly involved in the negotiations of that leasehold, so if there were ever discussions about a drive, I'm unaware of it. I don't know if anybody else recalls being in the room for those discussions, but that would have certainly been the appropriate time when you're discussing a leasehold property that's obviously a distance from the nearest public street to have had that conversation. It does not appear as though that happened. I wasn't in the room though.
And in regards to that, it was brought up in conversations with our last city manager. And at that time, I think at the time we were asked to donate $750,000, and then our commission ended up moving that up to a full $1 million because of the road, of the issue of some of that discussion of the road. And I think they just went on to move that ask up from 750 to 1 million. You know, I guess you sort of, I've spoken to you in depth about this, Mr. Cockley, and several others in regards to this. And, you know, we've donated $1 million. We've allowed them free leasing of this property, which we're not really putting a number on the leasing of this property, given that they've moved from one location off of East-West Connector would have cost them millions to continue drilling down in all of this rock, right? So to me, I think we saved them millions of dollars from moving from the first location that they considered to leasing this piece of property. I also see that, you know, this is a private drive that if the Humane Society was not building and getting a free lease on the city property, would we be blacktopping this drive?
No,
What
I mean,
reason would we have to
As far as I
blacktop
know,
this
for the
drive?
sewer department and the public works departments, our main two users and the plant board at this time had not have a reason to improve the drive beyond what we already have, which was essentially a gravel, rudimentary drive back for equipment to go. So as far as I know, there were no plans or needs for that to be improved. Had this user not come in, obviously they need something better than that for their facility. So, and as I mentioned, we wanted to make sure that whatever that became, that it was going to be durable enough in terms of future maintenance.
Yeah, Commissioner May.
Thank you. Mr. Cockley, thank you for all the information and always being responsive when we needed it. I think for me, coming out of this conversation, what I would hope that we have, both for us as a board and those of us in the room and those who have been a part of the conversations, answering really two critical questions and then making a decision from that. And, we have the conversation of, okay, let's look at it at statute, let's look at it at code, let's look at it in the black and white, and legally who is responsible for this based on, opinions of the interpretation of those statutes and so on and so forth. And then we can have a conversation about, but what do we want and what do we value as a community? And if it's important, we can get there still. And sometimes votes of conscience and votes of what we would like to see happen in organizations that continue to provide service for city and county. You know, where would the animals go if we didn't have a humane society? Who's going to take care of that? Are we going to change our city ordinances to say that to accommodate the overwhelming amount of loose animals that would be running around if we didn't have an organization like the Humane Society taking care of this for us? So that's where my head is at, and I think that's really ultimately what we've got to decide, because I may come out of it still going, okay, you know, from everything we've read and what's on black and white, yeah, it's clear, you know, or may be clear that it's their responsibility. Yet still there's an opportunity to find ways and be creative to fund things that we value. I think there needs to be a conversation. If it has happened, I apologize, I haven't had one yet with anybody at the county fiscal court. There needs to be conversations. The Humane Society provides a service for them as well. There's an opportunity to get some funding, I think, out of that. I know Frankfort Plant Board has also agreed to help. So, yeah, we have multiple answers and multiple ways to go about it, and multiple ways to reach something in my mind that the community and everybody can be proud of. Look at us as an example of what happens when we say, yeah, but what do we want to do and what makes us feel good and what can truly be a benefit to everyone. And I think we have an opportunity to put this to further conversation.
Yeah.
Commissioner Roberts.
And I would completely agree. You know, it's something that I feel is continuing to come out. Maybe we're not all happy in the way everything has come out on the news, on the newspaper, and things of that nature, because I want to applaud us for doing what we have done so far, and being very supportive of the Humane Society. But I guess where I sit right now, you know, I would just need to sit down and talk with maybe the new president a little more with our board, you know, be able to speak with him on, you know, is this a ask? Is this something there? What options is there, and why is it so hugely this one amount? Where does that fit into the Humane Society, and why now? Because we are looking going into 2024 of having a huge $4 million deficit right now that the city manager is working diligently on and pulling money from here and there. We also are coming up on cold months with the homeless shelters and things of that nature. But I agree, you know, if there's a way that we could help out or things of that nature in working with the county and allowing the county to do their part as well, I think it is for a conversation. So I would like to make the motion that we continue this conversation for roughly another 30 days until the voting meeting of September, and we make this vote the end of September. That will give all commissioners time to meet with those that are part of this process, and bring it back to the table to be able to vote to see what the Humane Society is needing. At first it was, we need $350,000. That's what we're looking for. Well, we already know I think Frankfort Plant Board may be given, I think, $50,000. I don't want to misstep, but I think it's $50,000. So that automatically puts us at $300,000. So within that, what is the county willing to bring forward in that $350,000 that puts us, that if the city still feels, as Commissioner May shared, what is our portion? So I'd like to make the motion to sort of table this for future conversation, to see what it is they're really wanting and actually truly needing, because every dollar we spend, we need to be very diligent on. So I ask that we table this and we make this decision and meet and greet in between here and the voting meeting of September. And then September shall be our vote, and that's what we will stick with, and that will be our final decision. That's
September 26th, we have a motion.
Was that the 26th?
That's 26.
So I asked for September 26th for us as a commission, each commissioner to have those meetings and the mayor, and then also for those conversations to happen with the county, and then on September 26th to have a final decision, yes or no down. That's the final decision on September 26th. That way we can continue moving on with city business.
So we have a motion to table this discussion and have a vote on September 26th.
But I have an opportunity to speak at all as the president of the Humane Society.
Hold on one second. We have a motion on the floor.
Yeah, we've got to actually finish it. Also, I want a little bit, if I could clarify to make sure what Commissioner Waldridge is saying is that then this will, for the next 30 days, then it will be Eric Cockley and I or others working to figure out, working with John or setting up a meeting for y'all to talk to John, but to kind of get clarity on what we will bring forward, I guess, from those discussions for the end of September.
Because we've had the 350,000 out there. Yeah. Well, now we know that's definitely down to 300,000. Could the Frankfort Plant Board bring more to the table? Could the county bring? I don't think 300,000 right now for the city, to me, is a yes for me. I can definitely say that. So I think we need to see what that feasibility is for you, the mayor, the judge, to have those conversations, share those informations with us, because we will be voting. And if other commissioners feel like that they want to meet with individuals for those meetings to be set up to understand, so we can have that meeting September 26th to have that final vote, but to see exactly what is the need and what kind of help do they really need.
Okay, so we have a motion.
Does that make sense?
Looking for a second.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right, motion, Commissioner Waldridge, to table this until September 26th. And we have a second, Commissioner Unger. Do you have clarity on what the motion is? And
Right, I'm going to follow up with the county, and then I'll work with you all to get information from John and provide ideas to you. But I think first and foremost to talk to the county first to see what they are willing to do.
Yes.
And see how they feel about it, because then understanding the needs from the Humane Society and then bringing that back for what the county will do and bringing it back to you all to make a motion of some sort based on the information we collect.
And I think that's out of respect of them changing, to a new president and being able to hear what he has to say and share with us.
you want to hear what he has to say right now? He's in the audience. Any objection?
Let him
All
talk
right.
during discussion.
John Hibbard, would you like to take the stand? Approach the podium. You're not under oath.
I want to thank you all for allowing me to speak today. I know we've kind of been a long way around trying to get the funding for our shelter and for our community, city, and county. And I just want to know, I'm here to work with you all to work through this dilemma that we have, to where we can work together as a community and get something that we can all be happy with. The facility we're building is a state-of-the-art facility. It'll be something that the entire state and probably the whole South will be able to look at and be kind of a model going forward. We've worked really hard as the Humane Society, staff, volunteers, everybody really putting in for this, and we really appreciate the opportunity to meet with you all, and I'm confident, after talking with some of you all, that maybe hopefully in the next 30 days, I know we do have a vote in the next meeting, we can get together, figure out what parameters will work out for everybody, and get this taken care of. I would like to, if I have the opportunity, we did have 800 people sign our petition to have this on there, so I did think that was important to have actually 800 citizens that we have, that actually went on and signed that petition, for this. But I just wanted to speak just momentarily and say thank you all. But really, just 30 days, hope we can have this taken care of, and then we'll all can come to an end. Thank you.
Point of information: City of Frankfort taxpayers, all 800.
I don't know about that. I didn't really do a survey.
That's who we represent.
I understand.
Yeah.
But we're all citizens of Franklin County, and so
No
when I
offense
look
to
at
the people in Lexington who send me emails, but
I understand.
It's not their tax dollars.
I understand, but we all are Kentuckians, and we all are Americans at that point. So looking at the betterment for everybody is better.
Take that a lot.
I got you.
A lot of different ways.
Absolutely.
Any other
Thank you all.
questions for John, since we have him right here?
I appreciate you being open and reaching out to those that you've reached out to and had that conversation. I think having a conversation is better than newspaper and news outlets. So I appreciate you reaching out and actually having those conversations now that you become president. But just know that, we support the Humane Society. I feel that we always have. You are the only budget that got an increase this year in regards of you needing money, which has now put you at $71,000, a little over. And so know that we do support you. We support you being Franklin County Humane Society. So we expect them to step up and be able to work with us and all, and seeing if there's a solution on the city's part and how we can assist, or if we can help you get funding from somewhere else. But that's just sort of where I stand.
When we come up with a solution, we all win. Thank you all.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
All right. See you in September. Oh, do we need a vote?
need a vote.
Clerk, please call for a vote.
We need a vote for that meeting.
Commissioner Rosen?
Yes.
Commissioner Unger?
Yes.
Commissioner May?
Yes.
Commissioner Waldron?
Yes.
Mayor Wilkerson?
Yes. All right. And move on to action item number 9.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. Staff is seeking Board of Commissioners' input and direction for the Parks Department to begin trial areas in Capitol View and East Frankfort parks to reduce mowing in certain areas and provide additional wildlife and pollinator areas. In response to Board of Commissioners, our Parks Director investigated certain areas, and he's here. He has, I think, a few slides to show to get a little bit, no? Okay.
Same as last week.
Okay. Can speak a little bit more to this, and if it is the will of the board, then staff will implement this pilot project.
You have the floor.
Just, nothing's really changed from last week. Just to follow up to Mr. Ashcraft's comments earlier, we don't plan on impeding the disc golf course in any way. In those areas, the big area there at East Frankfort is just something in the future. If this looks like this is going to be more of a, if we're looking at additional areas in the future for reduced mowing, at East Frankfort, that's really would be our next step. If we're going to, we need areas large enough to make a real impact. So the areas around the disc golf course, we have no plans to impede any areas of the disc golf by any means. So the exact areas and dimensions of the reduced mowing are still in the works, and what wildflowers are going to be planted and whatnot. We're just in that general area, but we don't plan to disrupt any disc golf play. So
What about the baseball fields?
this is in an area next to it.
Okay.
So somewhat visible from baseball users and park users, but in so many of our parks we use so much of our land for fields and trails and facilities. If we're going to have some reduced mowing areas, it's going to be in areas close to fields or close to areas that people are using. There's just no way around it. We don't have a lot of back outside of Cove Spring. We don't really have a lot of back areas that are kind of away from our useful areas. We're using so much of our property. It's either all wooded with woods or it's adjacent to facilities that we use. So if that makes sense.
I think it's interesting, and I guess now that his has came on our board, I feel as driving, I was getting off the exit over on 64, and I think the state has put a sign that says insect pollination, and I would have never really paid attention until now, and I was like, oh, okay, that's why it's always tall in an island. So I appreciate that. I'm glad that the state is doing that as well around our community and in areas that will assist, but that is a pretty big area that says insect pollination.
State Parks did it a long time ago. When I
Yeah.
worked for them 10 plus years ago, they were doing these kind of areas. Of course, that's out, not in the middle of the city. It's kind of
right.
out.
It is
It's a
out.
little easier, had more area, but
Thought it was. It caught my eye because of this. So.
yeah.
I know you said this about the disc golf, but Mr. Ashcraft brought it up, but you are going to mow that. We're not going to skip mowing where the disc golf, because it seemed like you were saying that we're going to let that grow up. But that's not the case.
We're still going to be mowing the disc golf course like we always had. They're in these areas that we're looking. We're looking at areas of reduced mowing in close proximity to the disc golf course, but not impeding the disc golf course.
Okay.
And these areas we do plan on. We're still working out the exact details, but we do plan on bush hogging them once or twice a year just to keep scrub brush. If we just kind of just let it go, it will.
Yeah.
A lot of just your unfavorable things will start to grow in there as well. So.
entertain a motion.
I have a
Commissioner
question.
Rosen.
Yes, I just wanted to add that we're looking at it from the human side, but looking at it from the habitat side, that insects and small birds, small animals that would use these areas have less and less place to survive, and that we're offering a service and we're promoting a new way of looking at landscaping for the public, to see it as more than just essentially a food desert for insects and animals, and see it as something where we can coexist.
Do we have a motion to approve?
Oh,
Or
that
second?
You just
motion
made
by
it.
Commissioner Unger. A second.
I'll second.
A second, Commissioner Rosen.
Our two big parts on the
Any discussion on this?
It was beautiful, Anna Marie.
Oh.
And if I see no other discussion, we're hearing none, I'll ask the clerk to call for a vote.
Commissioner Rosen?
Yes.
Commissioner Unger?
Yes.
Commissioner May?
Yes.
Mr. Waldridge?
Yes.
Mayor Wilkerson?
Yes, that motion carries. Thank you. Well, you're going to stay around for action item number 10, aren't you?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. The staff is seeking Board of Commissioners approval for the Parks Department to enter an agreement with Hunter Nepshield Company out of LaGrange, Kentucky, to construct and install a new restroom facility at Dolly Graham Park. This is very exciting.
Motion to approve. Sorry, I don't know what
You don't even want to hear anything more about
No, motion to approve.
Well, you want to hear we're saving money?
Yes.
We
And
got
that
a
was
cheaper
double
price.
motion of, I'm excited.
Oh, no, we have a motion now. Let's, motion, Commissioner Rogers, second, Commissioner Unger. Okay, discussion. City Manager, please.
Tell us how much we're
So
saving.
we it came in about almost $100,000 less than what we budgeted for, and then when we added contingency, it's at $223,000 rather than $300,000. So, thank you, Sean.
Paid for his own tennis courts.
And just a FYI for people to know, it's going to have one additional men's bathroom, one additional women's bathroom, and a much needed family bathroom,
Indeed.
as well as storage for our park staff.
Yes. And for the summer programs from the South Frankfort Community Center, they have their summer program down there. Hasn't been happening because of COVID, but it's starting to come back slowly, and they need storage areas, so there'll be storage for that as well. So.
Can you talk about location? Where is it again?
Right across the street from the splash pad, right next to Mickey
With the
Mills's
labyrinth.
property there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when do you think this will?
The last I spoke to them a couple weeks ago, they said that they would start construction within a couple of weeks of this approval. They build it in-house, they trailer it in, so it could potentially later this fall, this spring at the latest, it should be finished and ready to be opened.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Call for a vote.
Clerk, will you call for a vote? If there's no other discussion?
Thank you.
Commissioner Rosen?
Yes.
Commissioner Unger?
Yes.
Commissioner May?
Yes.
Commissioner Waldridge?
Yes.
Mayor Wilkerson?
Yes. Action item number 11.
Yes. Thank you. Staff is seeking approval to be an in-kind sponsor of Bluegrass Energy's Coapa-Palooza event on Wednesday, October 5th, 2022. Many of you know Franklin County is served by 3 different utilities, Frankfort Plant Board, LG&E, and Kentucky Utilities, as well as Touchstone Bluegrass Energy. And they're having their annual Economic Development Conference, and they'll be hosting it at the Grand. They are asking our in-kind support that we're going to provide is to close St. Clair Street for the day. Coapa-Palooza will have a band that they'll pay for to invite the community to come down and enjoy in the evening. And we will also provide some in-kind transit service where some folks will need to park at Juniper Hills, and then we'll bring them down to the Grand.
What was that date?
It's October 5th. is
October
that?
5th,
So
Wednesday, October
night.
5th.
Okay.
So I
There'll
think
be
you-
a German theme.
Oh, great.
There's a new German company going Shelby County that Bluegrass Energy is welcoming. So they're going to have a theme. They're going to get catered German food and sort of Oktoberfest-esque. Ish. That's what I want to say. Thank you.
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? It seems like a really influential event. I look forward to being at it. Ask the clerk to
Yes.
call for a vote.
Commissioner Rosen?
Yes.
Commissioner Unger?
Yes.
Commissioner May,
Yes.
Commissioner Waldridge.
Yes.
Mayor Wilkerson.
Yes. We should all go to that, by the way. And make sure the grant's full.
Yes.
All right, action item number 12.
Yes, thank you. Staff is seeking approval of a resolution declaring September 2022 as City Government Month. The Kentucky League of Cities declared September as City Government Month in Kentucky. This yearly celebration recognizes the important role cities play in building Kentucky's economy and improving the quality of life for citizens. They also have developed free civic education program that KLC provides to elementary schools. On September 24th, the city will be hosting a street party to celebrate the completion of the Tiger Project. It'll be Saturday, September 24th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. We're going to take this opportunity to have an open house at City Hall. All of our departments will be there available. We can talk about not only the end of the Tiger Project and how beautiful it is, but also City Government Month. We'll have some giveaways, music, and food, and it should be a good time.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, motion, Commissioner Waters, second. Commissioner May. All those, City Clerk, could you please call for a vote?
Commissioner Rosen,
Yes.
Commissioner Unger,
Yes.
Commissioner May,
Yes.
Commissioner Waldridge,
Yes.
Mayor Wilkerson.
Yes. Motion carries. Action item 13.
Thank you. Staff is seeking approval for the agreement between TRC Worldwide Engineering and the City of Frankfort for consulting project management services for the construction of the Transit Center parking garage. The total cost is $597,377, and this cost will be paid for by out of the federal CARES grant dollars. TRC, we've hired them to help the city select the qualified low bidder for the design build RFP, which those bids are due September 1st, so it's coming up very soon. And once the winning design build firm is selected, TRC will serve as the project manager for the city. They'll conduct daily inspections, ensuring quality for us in this extremely important project.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Is there any discussion on this?
We have Chuck here. Knowles.
All right. Seeing no discussion or hearing none, clerk, will you call for a vote?
Commissioner Rosen,
Yes.
Commissioner Unger,
Yes.
Commissioner May,
Yes.
Commissioner Waldridge.
Yes.
Mayor Wilkerson.
Yes. And that motion carries, which is the end of our action items. We move on to new business.
Kelly.
Should we be done finished business? New business, yes. Commissioner May.
The maybe old business, but I mean we've talked about Simon House funding, and
Yes.
so the conversation is new, perhaps. There, the conversations come up quite often, and how we move forward in our community, and make sure that we do our job to take care of those in need. And there was, the mayor and I had a brief discussion last week about Simon House, and one of the things we've discussed, of course, the need to fund personnel to be able to stay at the Simon House so that they could house more individuals overnight. I believe it's 16 individuals that the funding could help house, and then with the addition of helping sprinkle the building, could double that amount to 30 or 32. Roughly. And I know that obviously when we talk about spending money and of this amount, we have to approach with caution, but the bottom line is we have an ability as leaders in our community to address it efficiently, quickly, and in a way that I believe is responsible fiscally to give to an agency that has programs in place to make sure that individuals that want to better their lives can, and that have found themselves in unfortunate circumstances like so many, not just in our community, but across the country, have found themselves in. I'm looking at the Community Policing Advocate report, and from July, and 35.5% of the 31 responses were homeless and transient, and that is the largest percentage. So we think about not just, again, how we're approaching it from a, not just putting a Band-Aid on it. We have to look at programs that get us out of constantly finding ourselves going, okay, we need an emergency funding. So I would really like to see us have this conversation as quickly as possible. I know multiple members of this board and city staff as well have all talked about, winter's coming, it's around the corner. We know we're going to need these services. I think we need to act as quickly as possible. I will say again, I think it's a conversation perhaps that we could have with some other governmental agencies, fiscal court, of course. But so however we need to get this ball rolling as soon as possible.
That was part of the excess funds discussion.
Right.
So what is the timeline? When were we planning to bring that back up in September?
Well, I thought that, and giving you guys the project list, you can bring up what's most important as you go. We can schedule a separate discussion, or under new business, if you want to give us direction, we can then take that to, with the proposal for excess funds. We put down $60,000 to be able to sprinkle Simon House, and then $50,000 to help pay for two staff members to be able to stay overnight. So that would be $110,000. And if that is the will of the board, we would be happy to work with the Simon House and work with Alicia, our finance director, and how we can make that happen. That would come out of that. Since you adopted the rainy day fund, that excess, the one-time capital improvement funds that are available.
Okay, is that something that we would need to, are we going to vote, I guess a question here, are we going to vote on each of those expenditures one by one? Or are we going to, on what we discussed, our priorities, are we going to vote on those one by one? Or are we going to,
however you would like to do it. I presented to you all as a proposal. But also recognizing that some things, all at once, we would have to probably lay it out over a time frame, because what we had proposed was about $925,000. So
perhaps, okay, the next meeting, this is one of those quirks where we have a 3-week break between meetings. Don't get too excited.
If you'd like, though, I was just talking to Laura Ross too, is that you can vote on spending the money tonight, if you like, if you want us to make it happen.
Well, if we're going to, okay. Yes, Commissioner Unger, you had a question.
Do we need a representative from Simon House to come chat again, or is there? I was just wondering if Okay.
We could bring somebody for the work session in September.
Or even a memo, just more information.
Yeah, I guess, I think in our email we had, and then Commissioner Rosen looked like she had a question after, but back to Commissioner Unger, is that, in the email that we sent out of the rainy day fund that we were trying to use, their email was 50 and 60,000, which was 110.
Yep.
So is that something that we still need to work through? Is that just numbers we threw out, or is that conversations, as Commissioner May said, with the county to see what they're willing to do? And is that our portion? Has that conversation happened? Or will our portion change if we have that conversation with the county to say, hey, we're willing to work with you, you're willing to work with us? What does that direction look like?
I have not had the conversation with the county yet.
That needs to happen.
But that information I discussed with Blair Hecker, who's been in contact with the Simon House for what their needs are. So that's how we came up with it, saying half of what their staffing needs are, and that we would do the sprinkling of the building.
So we're doing half of it, both.
Actually, I'd suggested just to sprinkle the whole building. The county owns the building. I know there's a hope that there's going to be a charge, that the Simon House wants to purchase the building. And perhaps if we stepped up, did the sprinkling, that there could be some good negotiations between the Simon House and the county. But that we would pay for the sprinkling, and that we would pay for half the staffing cost. And I could be in touch with fiscal court again to see what they're willing to do. But that's what our proposal for what the city would do.
September 12th, okay, to talk about this. That's our next work session. That's
Yeah.
3 weeks, not 2.
Anna Marie Mylan.
Yes, Commissioner Rose.
So I think these are good steps towards solving the problem, but I really think this problem is a regional problem, and it's much bigger than just Frankfort or Franklin County. And I'm wondering if we need to step back and try to get other communities surrounding us to be focused on this, or I'm not sure how to solve that problem, but that I feel like we can do some efforts here, and it's never going to be enough if the other communities around us aren't doing something.
Well, if I may add, Blair Hecker's work with the CARES Coalition is extremely important. And I do believe, and I think the commission, you all believe that it's the best long-term solution. And I would suggest that this are the short-term solutions we could have, and then the CARES Coalition would be the ones to work with regionally. I know recently Georgetown and Scott County just put together a new coalition on homelessness. So the CARES Coalition can also reach out to them. And depending if there's other entities regionally, but yes, I would agree that it's a regional, it's a much bigger issue than just our community. But I think the CARES Coalition is probably the right group to be able to start working with others, because they can determine the services that are needed, what gaps that they are. Because you're right, it's a much bigger issue than just our community.
And I also know of organizations that actually work with people before they end up becoming homeless. Like, it comes to their attention that there are people who are about to be evicted, and maybe a short-term amount of money going to them. So before they get evicted, and to try to work with some of those things. And probably that fits into what the CARES Coalition is looking at as well. But, like the electricity is going to be turned off. Is it a short-term problem, and can the CARES Coalition help with that, or someone involved?
Get back on to the new business at hand, the Simon House. Are we is it okay to go to September 12th on this, or do we?
I think that gives them time to do what
we
Commissioner May suggested, that conversation.
And is this a CARES Coalition in the future? Is this a
Yes.
CARES Coalition contribution that we're making? The CARES Coalition is the
entity that will be leading efforts. But in the short term, this is an immediate need for the upcoming winter.
Okay, and then along those lines, well, we can get into there's plenty we can discuss on the excess funds. But yes, Commissioner Mayor.
I guess I'm just going to keep going back to, so if we're thinking 110,000 right now, that would hold 16 people.
110,000 would do 30.
Would do the 32.
But it wouldn't pay for the staffing for the additional people, would it?
What I'm proposing is paying for half the staffing.
Right.
And to reach out to the county to see what they were doing.
So 100,000 is for the sprinklers.
60,000 is for the sprinklers, and then 50,000 would be half of the staffing costs.
Gotcha.
Okay. So we're looking at, less than that then.
Okay.
$3,400 per person that we could put a roof over sooner. So my conversations and questions go back to, and maybe this is where it would be better to have somebody here with the Simon House.
That's what I was going to say, because I want to make sure there's numbers.
Yeah.
Well, we can
schedule
have a
that.
special meeting. We can do something like that. We could have a special meeting on the excess funds and talk about all those projects that we
could do that too.
Just to me as elected leaders, the idea of having the opportunity to fix this glaring problem that we stare at every day.
Yes.
We can't.
But I think it would be good to direct from the Simon House.
Sure.
On
I
their
agree.
phones, and
You're right.
so September 12th is good.
All right.
And
any other new business?
So, and I just wanted to sort of piggyback, because I know that this was part of
a request that I was wanting, as long as, and other commissioners are like homelessness, was there along with the senior place. But is there any way that we can get an update on what the men's shelter is doing or what their plans are moving forward? Yes, I know they did not request funding from us this year. However, they already received funding from us because we advanced it. So I still think we could use an update on what's going on there, so we know what's going on with the men's shelter, and moving forward, headed toward the summer months. We still, I think, deserve an update on what that organization's doing, so we can be prepared and whatever that looks like, because we did give them money even though they did not request for this year, because we did in advance.
And new business, I would also like to consider going ahead and starting or restarting the contract with Commonwealth Alliances. I don't remember how long that we
Budgeted 4 months.
We budgeted 4 months. I'd like to consider going on and doing that as we prepare for the next session. I think now's the time we need to be laying the groundwork with some of the members of the General Assembly and beyond.
So what is Commonwealth Alliance?
They are the firm that we hired, the government relations firm. They they lobby for us on our the special issues we have in front of primarily the General Assembly, but also the executive branch.
I could reach out to everyone, see if it's the will of the board
That'd be
to
great.
bring that back for discussion and vote in September.
Is there any other new business? If not, we'll go to unfinished business.
Lisa.
Yes, Commissioner.
You heard me sigh.
I just heard it.
Paid family leave on discussion for September is what I was hoping for.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, don't forget that September 3rd is Kentucky State
Frankfort Day.
Day at the football game. So we've had several people in the community sign up. It's going to be an exciting day. So people should come on out. Setup starts at 9:30 if you'd like to come out and set up a tent. We are not selling anything. Everything is free. So come on out, enjoy your hot dog, hang out with KSU alumni and KSU football and all the students there at Kentucky State on September 3rd. The event will start at 10 o'clock and it will end at 12:30, where we can pack up our items, put it in our vehicle, and head on back into the stadium for a 1 o'clock kickoff against Delta State University. So hope to have you there. I'm hoping this will continue to grow larger and larger, but go Breads, and let's have a good year.
Any other? If not,
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
all right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, we're adjourned.